I might ask our councillors and staff to take a seat so we can start the meeting. We're just running a couple of minutes late. I think Pascal's going to be online. Okay. So welcome, councillors. I declare the meeting open at 6:02 p.m. I note there's no registered speakers for open forum, and that's why I declared the meeting open. Can I ask you to be upstanding for the council prayer? Lord, we humbly beseech thee to vouchsafe thy blessing on this council, direct and prosper its deliberations for the advancement of this area and the true welfare of its people. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. I'd also like to acknowledge the Wongal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, and pay our respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to other First Nations people who may be present. I remind councillors of their oath of affirmation of office under Section 223A of the Local Government Act of 1993. I've got a motion, and we've got one councillor online, which is Councillor Esper. It's been moved by Councillor Manna, seconded by Councillor Wu. That her reasoning was because she couldn't get a carer for her children, so she had to come in online. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against declare that carried unanimously. I note that the meetings of the council are live streamed for the purpose of promoting public transparency, and they can be viewed on YouTube or via the council website. We have an apologies of leave of absence for Councillor Bata, who unfortunately is in Nepal at the moment. She had to fly back over. Her mother's passed away, and she's been there for the last couple of weeks. And so it's a very sad time for her and her family, and our thoughts and prayers are with her, and we put in the leave of absence, being moved by Councillor Wu, seconded by Councillor Yang. Put the motion that a leave of absence be accepted and adopted. All those in favour, those against, declare that carried unanimously. Declarations of interest. I note that I've got a declaration of interest in item 10/26. As my family owns a property at number 10 Britannia Avenue, Burwood. So it's a pecuniary interest, so I'll be removing myself from the discussion and the debate. And item 11/26, which is the heritage listing of the Strand shopping precinct. And I've got a pecuniary interest there, as my family owns a shop there at 22 the Strand, Croydon. Any other declarations of interest? I note no other declarations of interest. Any declarations of political donations? I note no declarations of political donations. Confirmation of the minutes for the meeting 17th of Feb. It's been moved by Councillor Manna, seconded by Councillor Yang. Approved and adopted as a true copy. All those in favour, those against, declare that carried unanimously. First item we have is the mayoral minute, which is the infrastructure delivery to support urban growth. So my mayoral minute is to deal with Burwood's proposed increased growth over the next 15 to 20 years as an area, and we're expected to increase significantly to support housing supply and employment growth consistent with the New South Wales Government's metropolitan strategy and the designation of Burwood as a strategic centre. The strong partnership between Council and the New South Wales Government has delivered a range of social and economic outcomes, including over $110 million in transformational infrastructure projects through the Western Sydney Infrastructure Grants Program, which is continued but started with the previous government under the previous Premier. I've forgotten his name, Councillor Wu, Perrottet. Dom Perrottet, Mr. Perrottet, and also our grants programs, as well as the investment in arts and culture through vibrancy and nighttime economy initiatives, and the delivery of the Sydney Metro, which will enable residents to travel to both Parramatta and the Sydney CBD within approximately 10 minutes. So it's 10 minutes to Parramatta and 10 minutes to the city CBD, which is due to be completed by 2032 at a cost of, I think it was approximately $26 billion. While these investments are acknowledged, it is important that Council seeks clarity from the New South Wales Government regarding how critical state infrastructure and services will be planned, delivered and funded to support future growth. As population increases within the Burwood LGA, the provision of infrastructure such as schools, health services, transport and emergency services will be required to support the community. It is also important that planning frameworks supporting future growth include clear mechanisms to facilitate the delivery and provisions of additional open space for the community. As such, as Mayor, I plan to write to the New South Wales Minister for Planning and Public Spaces and the local member for Strathfield, seeking confirmation that any urban transformation within the Burwood local government area and associated population growth be supported by the timely planning, delivery and funding of adequate state infrastructure, including schools, health services, transport and emergency services, and that planning frameworks include clear mechanisms to facilitate the provision of additional open space to support the growing community. Is there any questions for that? Just on that too, I've already had some preliminary discussions with the state member and with the Minister for Planning when he came out on his announcement for Burwood North Precinct about some of the schools and the need for funding. And one of the examples we gave was Burwood Public School, which is across the road, and they're aware of that. And he told me that they're actually looking at some proposals there. So we're hoping to seek a meeting with the Education Minister to further progress those talks. One of the things also is last Friday I was at a mental health talk which included sport, the role sport plays in youth mental health. And I was at an event where the Sports Minister, the Honourable Steve Camper, was there as well as the Minister for Housing and Rose Jackson, as well as representatives from Lifeline and Business New South Wales. And one of the discussions was in and about, when we grew up, how we had unorganised sport as well, and how there are schools in our local government area which could open up some of their playgrounds after hours and on weekends for public use as well, because they are public assets. And one of the examples we gave is the collaboration we have with Burwood Public School, where council is using, helping maintain through grants programs its basketball courts, which were at one stage were in a derelict state, which are then open to the public after hours and on weekends. And there are opportunities to do more and more of that. So we'll be writing to starting to contact and make contact with the schools to speak to them. Currently, the way the legislation is in place is you have your local school boards who decide on the assets of the schools. And so you've got some that are, and understandably, sometimes it could be seen that it's territorial, or there could be legal issues through insurances and liability, which is a big issue. So there's things that I think we need to work through with government, the local schools and legislators to actually, put together a template that will allow the use of those spaces again, especially for public schools. So it's an ongoing discussion. We'll continue to do that. Is there any other questions? Put them in. All those in favour? Those against, declare that carried unanimously. My other mayoral minute is keeping Burwood cool competition. We are the coolest neighbourhood in Australia, the 16th in the world, according to Time Out magazine. And so we want to continue to keep Burwood cool, and we can do that also by ensuring that we continue to have our tree planting program. Especially in, and when you're reading, I think it was a recent report that came out yesterday, which was talking about the showing of heat maps and how Sydney is getting hit with more and more heat because of the hotter summers and hotter days. And what we need to be doing is starting to plan for that, to ensure that not only are we greening our spaces and providing really good vistas and amenity for residents to enjoy those spaces, but at the same time, we're putting in trees for the future to ensure that we've got more trees coming in than those actually dying or being removed. I think from memory, in the last 5 years, we've had 2,000 trees planted. I think we've lost 60 in comparison. I stand to be corrected, but I think that was roughly the figure. And the trees that are have been removed have been because of an infrastructure issue or liability, or they've actually just, obviously died and their time's expired. So on that, Burwood has recently been recognised, as I had mentioned, Australia's coolest neighbourhood. But being cool is not only about culture, food and vibrancy, it's also about creating a greener, healthier and more comfortable place to live. For years, Council has made a strong and sustained investment in greening Burwood's neighbourhoods, including extensive tree planting across streets, parks and public spaces, with almost $1 million invested. Initiatives such as the Merrill Street Planting Program, now in its 6th year, have played a key role in strengthening urban canopy and improving street amenity across the LGA, with over 1,600 trees planted to date, just in that program alone. So that's without the programs for our parks, replacement trees for those that have died and so forth. There is an opportunity to build on the momentum through a new community initiative and the Keeping Burwood Cool competition, celebrating the residents who are helping to green and cool Burwood through their planting efforts. Across the community, residents are already making meaningful contributions by caring for their gardens, balconies and other small green spaces around their homes. These everyday efforts collectively shape the character of our streets, enhance our neighbourhood amenity and support a healthier and more livable environment for all. Greening also plays an important role in supporting well-being and improving urban comfort. When multiplied across streets and communities, these small contributions help create cooler, greener and more pleasant places for everyone to enjoy. This competition could recognise gardens, verges, balconies and other green spaces that contribute to cooling and beautifying the local environment. A small prize could be awarded to the winner or winners across the categories to recognise the effort and contribution based on people's votes and a selection overseen by council staff. And we can even look at that through our Environment and Sustainability Committee. This initiative aligns with council's continued commitment to urban greening, improving neighbourhood amenities, supporting well-being and strengthening community pride of place, while reinforcing Burwood's identity as a cool, vibrant and living neighbourhood. I therefore put the minute that the General Manager investigate the establishment of an annual Keeping Burwood Cool competition commencing in 2026, time being permitted, that is, if we can get that back. If not, it would be 2027. And that the General Manager investigate the development of a policy to enable planting on verges to further encourage community participation in greening and cooling Burwood's neighbourhoods. And one of the examples, great examples, is there's many residents that have actually gone out and planted some of their verges. They look after them, they water them, they put fertiliser in them. There's a great example just behind Burwood Heights there in forgotten the street now. I think it's off Waratah Street, just on the beginning of Waratah Street on the corner there with Cool D's and Kelso, where the resident there is turned it into a full-on garden and it looks amazing, and he looks after it and he fertilises it and he's been doing it for, I think, for 50 years. And technically, under the, probably, I guess the issue for us is we need to tighten up our policies, because there could be an argument under the current policy that's not allowable. But at the same time, it's, we're trying to encourage community involvement through our communities, and hence by adding to the verges and obviously to the streetscape, which is benefiting the whole street, not just his home. Any questions on the matter? I'll put them in at all those in favour. Those against, declare that carried unanimously. We're going to go through the reports. I'm going to suggest that we have items 10/26 and 11/26 dealt with at the end, because I need to remove myself, so then the Deputy Mayor can take the chair. So it's been moved by Councillor Manna, seconded by Councillor Wu. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against, declare that carried. So item 10 and 11 will go in order after item 16/26. So we'll deal with item 12/26, which is the Burwood Community Satisfaction Survey. Being moved by Councillor Yang, seconded by Councillor Manna or Wu. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against declare that carried unanimously. The draft related party disclosures policy, which is item 13/26, been moved by Councillor Wu, seconded by Councillor Yang. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, I declare that carried unanimously. I'm just trying to get on here to see Councillor Esper. She's here? Okay. I can't see her on this screen. All right, good. Just wanted to make sure in case she's got a question. Item 14/26, which is the draft statement of business ethics, been moved by Councillor Manner, seconded by Councillor Esper. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, declare that carried unanimously. Item 15/26, which is the investment report as at the 31st of Jan, being moved by Councillor Wu, seconded by Councillor Esper. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, declare that carried unanimously. And we've got item 16/26, which is the National General Assembly of Local Government. I just need, I guess, an indication from those that will be attending that conference in Canberra, the national conference, just for registration. I think when's the date that we need to advise? But we need to give approval.
Early bird.
So what I would say is that we approve for all councillors to attend, and then you indicate if you wanted to attend. So the approval's for all to attend, and then, but you need to provide an indication, Michelle, if you could let us know by when they need to provide that indication, because we don't want to pay for everyone to attend, to register for the conference, which is the Australian Local Government Conference in Canberra in June. And it's a place.
Yeah.
Oh, and the placemaking one in May. There's two. Where's the placemaking one at? Okay.
You are the voting delegate. It's you or
Yeah.
your delegate?
Me and the deputy mayor. All right, I'll put the motion. All those. So it's been moved by Councillor Manner, seconded by Councillor Yang. Yang. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, I declare that carried unanimously. I'm now going to remove myself and hand over to Councillor Manner. I'm just going to do a quick Merrill minute if I can, just for myself on behalf of council to send the council's condolences to Councillor Batter on the passing of her mother, and to send her some flowers when she's back in Sydney, which I think she'll be back next week. And that be sent from the Mayor's office on behalf of the councillors and the council. I'll put them in. All those in favour? Those against, declare that carried. And just a quick shout out to Rosemary, who's a former teacher of mine, if I can say that, who's a local resident too. So good to see you. And don't tell any stories while I'm not in the room. All right, George, you can come in. This screen's not showing Councillor Esper, so you need to change the layout of it. Yeah, it's just not on that.
So do we need a mover in a second for these or instead? No, for these, a move a second or okay, so councillors, we now have item 10/26. Burwood North Metro Precinct, New South Wales Government state-led rezoning proposal. Any questions from the floor?
Yes, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I have a couple of questions arising from the Burwood North Metro proposal. I note...
Sorry, councillor, we've got to move in a second first before we go to...
Oh, sorry.
My apologies. So I need to move it to... Move it, Alex, Councillor Yang. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wu Gascott. All those in favour, show of hands. Oh, okay. Been a while since I've done it, so excuse me. So we go to question times.
Yes,
Councillor
thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Yeah, a couple of questions. Just noting that this new proposal by the state government is quite different from the previous proposal recently considered by council, in that it's proposing a dramatic increase in high rise along Burwood Road, beyond 40 stories in some cases where none were proposed before. I just have two questions. Firstly, in respect of public consultation, I notice that the state government is proposing to provide a consultation report at a later stage of this process. But I'd like to just ask, when can council expect to receive information from the state government about its responses to both council submission, and it's proposed here the council make a submission. When would the state government be responding to that, and in what form? And secondly, when would it be responding to submissions from private residents about this proposal? And just, additionally, when would council be reporting back to us about state government's responses to those proposals? That's my first question. I do have another question, but perhaps I'll let someone answer that.
One at a time, yeah, through the general manager.
Direct city strategy, if you can, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Through you, in relation to the public consultation, the state-led rezoning is currently on exhibition now and will close on the 10th of April 2026. In relation to any submissions made by council or the residents, there is no indication from the department when they would be responding to those. At this point, they've only indicated when the exhibition period will close. My understanding from other processes they've gone through is that they will consider the submissions and they will publish those on their website, but we have no indication it's the timing or the length of time that they will take to undertake that review.
Just a follow-up question, if I may, Mr Deputy Mayor. Will council be making inquiries to the state government as to whether a response will be made by council to both council submissions and submissions by private residents? And secondly, will that be reported? Will any response state government makes to those submissions be advised back to council at some point in the process?
Through the general manager.
Can attempt. I suspect, given that we as a council we're going to be making a technical submission, it will give us an indication on the level, if and what level of response we're going to receive back from the state government. And I think we can commit to sharing that response if it comes through with the councillors, whether it's in the form of a memo or as an information report. At this stage, I'm not quite sure what type of form or shape any kind of consolidated summary of submissions and responses we will be getting from the departments, but we can certainly make inquiries. There's definitely not a problem.
Thank you for that response. And I have a further question. I note from the state government's materials that they've published that it's going to be considering the heritage impacts of this proposal. And I note under the BLEP 2012 that will continue to apply under this proposal. But I note that the state government also notes this in their report, that a number of properties have been recommended to be delisted as heritage properties from that from their current or former listing as heritage items, namely the Victorian shops at 90 to 98 Burwood Road, Burwood, the semi-detached houses at 12 and 14 Burwood Road, Burwood, and the Federation House at 7 Nietzsche Parade, Burwood. Could I just be reminded of the reasons why these properties were recommended to be delisted as heritage properties, please?
Thank you, councillor. Through the General Manager, thanks.
Ryan.
As part of the department's report, there was a report released on with the public exhibition, a report prepared by City Plan. There was essentially what they were saying in the report was that they no longer meet the threshold for heritage listing and the condition of those properties. As part of our technical submission, we will have a look at the report by the department, and we can include that. We can review to make sure that what's been proposed is reasonable, and we can make a submission in our technical submission to the department on that as well.
Well, thank you for that response. Sorry, if I could just follow up quickly on that. I mean, and I don't want to press this too much, but and it's buried in this report somewhere, which I haven't refamiliarised myself with. But does anyone here recall why those properties did not meet the threshold for continued listing?
Thank you, councillor. Through the General Manager.
Ryan.
Not off the top of my head, councillor. I don't recall the specifics, but we can certainly take the question on notice and provide we can provide the extracts out of the report.
Thank you. Yes, I would be interested in the response to that, and I'll have a look at the report myself as well. Thank you.
Any other questions from any other councillor? Okay, Councillor Esma. She's good. Okay. I'll put the motion. All for the recommendation motion. Show of hands, please. So unanimously, everyone showed their hands. Thank you. Motion carried. So now item 11/26, endorsement of planning proposal for heritage listing of the Strand for submission to the DPHI for gateway determination. So I need a mover for that. Councillor Yang moved and Councillor Wu Koshot seconded. Thank you. Any questions?
Just have one question, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yes, look, I noting I support this proposal. I just have an inquiry. Is there? I understand there's no impediment to making an application, or council to make the application to the state government to apply for this group of properties on the Strand to be listed under the State Heritage Register. This is a proposal for it to be listed under the local Heritage Register. Are there any plans by council to proceed that way and to request that the state government list it on the State Heritage Register? And if so, when is the appropriate time to make that request?
Thank you, councillor. Through the General Manager. Thank you.
Director Strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. At this point, we're proposing to list it as a local item under the LEP to give it statutory weight in any application. There was not a consideration at this point for state heritage listing, but you're correct, there is nothing to prevent the New South Wales Office of Heritage from proceeding with a state listing. And I guess the appropriate time is any time to request that. But I guess the proposal at this point is to locally list it. Council is not the regulator of the state heritage listing, so that would have to be a request of the New South Wales Office of Heritage to complete that process.
Thank you for that response.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, I'll put the motion. Those for the motion and the recommendation, show of hands. I see all hands up, all councillors. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Any further business? Meeting closed at 6:32 PM. Thank you, councillors.